Welcome to the FanDuel Punch-Out. I'm Big Italy 42, talking about tonight's slate of action, of course. And with 15 games on tap, of course, there's a lot of great pitching options, and I'm going to help you find the best of the best. And obviously some pretty pricey guys here up top. You got Max Scherzer, $11,600 at New York, facing off against Masahiro Tanaka. And obviously Max has as high of an upside as anyone. But as you're looking at his numbers, what you don't like about him is that he does have a higher than average fly ball rate, 47%. That does not bode too well for any pitcher, really, in Yankee Stadium, especially with that short porch and lefties in that lineup. So for me, Max Scherzer, I think a great tournament option, not a guy that I'm going out of my way to target in cash games. The guy directly below him, Corey Kluber, is the guy that I'm looking at in cash games. It's $11,100, and today he gets a Seattle team that has really been struggling. Kluber, the biggest favorite on the board at minus 190. Vegas is a green here, only a 7-run total. He was at Seattle 2 starts ago, the same exact team. Went 7 innings with 13 Ks and picked up the win. 8 innings, 9 Ks against Kansas City. Impressive performance there. 7 Ks against Cincinnati. 12 against the White Sox. 18 against St. Louis. The guy is absolutely locked in right now. Corey Kluber, if I'm paying up, and I am, like I always do in cash games, I think Corey Kluber your best option at the top for your cash games. Dallas Keuchel at $9,900 in a great spot as well. Went complete game against the same White Sox team in Houston. 2 starts back, 11 Ks, just 4 hits, no walks. Got to win 24 fantasy points there. I think he's a fine option as well if you don't have the money to pay up for Corey Kluber. Elsewhere, Francisco Liriano, a guy that I'm just looking at in tournaments. I mean, he's shown some great upside. He's been very consistent outside of one bad start. But this is a Milwaukee team that hits lefties better than they do righties. So I think with that being said, that he's more of a tournament option for me. An interesting tournament option also, John Lester, guy who's had some bad starts this year, but he's also had some very good starts. And this is a Tigers team that, as we know, one of the best in the game against lefties. 3rd best as far as Team WOBA, but striking out over 22% of the time. They have a 10.8% walk rate, which you don't like, especially if you're targeting a guy like John Lester. But Lester only strikes out walks 6% of batters. He had some struggles with the long ball earlier this season, but really starting to get it going. He's an interesting guy for me tonight in tournaments. A guy that a lot of people will be on is Eduardo Rodriguez, facing off against Baltimore in Camden Yards. $8,200. He's had 2 starts. All he's done is 14 2/3, 14 Ks, 1 earned run, 2 wins, 5 total hits, 4 walks. He's going to be a popular play tonight, so I'm not saying to fade him at all. He won't be my only pitcher on a site like FanDuel. I think he's a great SP2 and another site, but with all these good pitching options on the mound, I don't know that I want to target a guy in his 3rd Major League start as my only option. But I think he's a great play outside of that. Noah Syndergaard, another interesting guy. He's been huge with strikeouts recently. Had 10 in his last game, despite giving up 10 hits and getting rocked by San Diego. So made up for a terrible start with that. Game before that was great against Philly. He's had some ups, he's had some downs, but I think he's an interesting play as well at $8,000. And then Anibal Sanchez. We know that the Cubs strike out more than any other team against righties, but they also have a ton of power. Anibal Sanchez, $7,800. He's had some big games. He's had 4 starts this season with at least 8 strikeouts. And, he's got that upside, but he also gives up a lot of long balls. And this is a Cubs team that can punish him quickly. Fortunately, he is in Detroit, so that shouldn't be too much to worry about with him. And then if you're going cheap, Carlos Rodon at $7,200 gets Houston. He had 10 strikeouts against Texas last time out. Only 4 against Houston the time before that, but we saw what Chris Sale did to these guys last night. Obviously, confidence not riding high with a lot of these batters, so certainly not expecting anywhere near what Chris Sale did to him last night, but some big-time upside for him at that price tag. And as far as these really cheap guys, an interesting one, Robbie Ray. Made a couple starts so far, was pretty good in both of them. At Colorado, picked up 14 fantasy points, 9 at the Mets, didn't allow a single earned run in 5 innings there. And this is a Dodgers team, as you know, the best in the league against right-handed pitching, but 22nd against lefties. 21.8% strikeout rate, a 120 ISO. Most of their best bats are left-handed. So Robbie Ray has only faced 10 batters so far this season that were left-handed. Hasn't fared particularly well, but 4 singles, 1 strikeout. Obviously, ridiculously small sample size. You're not buying into that, but I think he's an interesting play. He's the 2nd cheapest option on the board tonight, $6,000. A lot of people will be on the Dodgers. I think that he's an interesting tournament option today. As we move on here to catcher, You're, of course, looking at guys like Brian McCann for your tournaments, $3,700. He's an interesting play. Russell Martin's probably going to be my cash game play, $3,200, hitting well in Rogers Center. Yes, Dan Heron's been better against righties this season, but I think he's a nice play. Matt Wieters had a couple great games already off the DL, only his fourth game tonight, $3,100. He's in a great spot. If you want to go back to cores, you got Yadier Molina at $2,900. Wasn't interested in him last night. He did hit a double, but just doesn't have enough power for me to be paying his increased price tag there. Michael McHenry at $3,000, an interesting play. Nick Hundley at $2,700 once again in that spot. As you look cheaper, Sal Perez, guy that's been hitting the ball pretty well. Terrible lineup spot as usual, but homer or a double in each of his last 3 games, $2,500 makes him an interesting play. And then if he's in the lineup, Wellington Castillo, an interesting punt at $2,400. Outside of that, I'm probably just sticking with either Russell Martin, Matt Wieters, or one of these guys at cores tonight. Moving on to first base, Miguel Cabrera against the lefty. Yes, it's John Lester, and I know I just talked about him as an option for you, but you're certainly going to be considering him. He's $4,800, $700 less than Paul Goldschmidt, so he's in a great spot. If Edwin Encarnacion is back in the lineup, he's $3,800 today against Dan Heron. Obviously, righty-righty once again. Heron better against righties, but really cheap price tag for him in the Rogers Center, so I like that. Other options, Joey Votto at $4,100 is in a fine spot as well. And then if you're looking for tournament guys, Mark Teixeira, $3,700 against Max Scherzer. Once again, you're not trying to pick on Max Scherzer, but if you're going to do it, it's going to be with one of these lefty bats. Obviously, he's a switch hitter. Certainly some upside there. And then Jose Abreu just continues to be too cheap. Another one of those situations where you're not trying to pick on the pitcher, but Dallas Keuchel, great pitcher, but Jose Abreu at $3,400. Really interesting there. Ben Paulson had a nice game last night, $3,000. Gets Michael Wacha tonight. Had a double and a triple among his 3 hits. Certainly looking that way. Yonder Alonso, another interesting one at $3,000. Hitting really well since he came back from injury. I'm a big fan of his. And then that's about it. I'm really not going to dip much lower than that unless you're going to go with Mark Reynolds, who I played last night. He's not a great hitter, but he's in course field. He's got big upside. Just 2 singles last night, but $2,800. We know what he's capable of. Double dong upside in course field for $2,800. Sign me up for that. Jason Kipnis atop your priced second baseman at $4,700. You don't love targeting against the lefty, but the guy's hitting everyone right now, so great tournament option for you there. Brian Dozier, not paying his price tag against a righty. Jose Altuve at $3,600 gets a lefty, and Carlos Rodon at $3,600. So hit a double off Chris Sale last night. He's finally starting to get it going again. Really cheap price tag for one of the best hitters in the game against a lefty. So you got to like that. Dustin Pedroia, of course, in play. Having a great stretch right now. Multi-hit games in 4 of his last 6 with a home run, couple doubles in there. $3,500. Got to like him. Colton Dong, homered last night. $3,500 for him once again. Price actually went down $100 since last night. I think he's fine. And if Jeff Baker is in the lineup batting cleanup, which I anticipate he will be against a lefty, $2,700. Probably going to be my cash game option tonight if I'm not going to be going with cores. And then you get Ben Zobrist, who gets Nick Martinez. He hasn't been great recently, but his price is indicative of that, $2,600. Get yourself a nice value. Throwing out one more cheap guy here, Ivan DeJesus. Homered last night. Reds just called him up, hit a double and a homer. $2,400, a nice cheap price tag. And Robbie Cano's almost made all the way down to men's salary. He faces Corey Kluber tonight. Not a chance in hell I'll be playing him tonight. If you'd like to go down that route, you go ahead. You're gonna be on that train alone tonight because I'm not a fan. Third base, Josh Donaldson always in play. Once again, it's Dan Heron, but crushes lefties. He's not too bad against righties either. $4,700, nice big time upside play. Gotta like Matt Carpenter at $4,300 in cores. Was a big time disappointment last night. Maybe his ownership's down just a little bit. We'll have to wait and see on that, but I think he's an interesting play. Chris Bryant against Anibal Sanchez, who struggled with the long ball. Gotta love his big time upside. Double and a triple among 3 hits last night. Gotta like that. Joey Gallo at $3,200 gets Sonny Gray tonight. Lefty-righty matchup. Gotta like that. He's done pretty well since coming up. Of course, Maikel Franco, if you're chasing a home run, $3,100. Going to be looking his way as well. Looking towards some cheap guys here. Mike Moustakas is $2,400 against Trevor May. Gotta like that. Louis Valbuena, if he's in the lineup, you don't love the lefty-lefty matchup, but he has a ton of power. Near minimum salary, $2,400. I don't mind looking that way either. And then once you go all the way down to the bottom, it's just a whole lot of stuff that I don't want to touch. No thanks there. Shortstop, of course, Troy Tulowitzki, Johnny Peralta. Take your pick, whoever you can afford. Of course, Peralta gets a better matchup against De La Rosa than Tulo does against Waka, but I think you're fine with either. I still prefer Tulo. I think he's got bigger upside. If you're not going with one of those two guys, Jose Reyes directly beneath them. 6.75, 6.25, 10.5, 7 1/4, 2 1/4. The guy's been on a tear recently. Gotta like him tonight. Some other options. Jung Ho Gong at $33,000 gets a rookie tonight. If he's in the lineup, gotta like his upside as well. And then as you're looking at these cheaper guys, I always like Wilmer Flores. Wind blown out a little bit there. Citi Field, I like him as a tournament option, of course. Alcides Escobar once again leading off. Big time disappointment over 4 last night, but obviously these things happen. We know this. I'm going to be looking his way as well. Zach Cozart homered again last night and hit a double. 2.4. I think he makes for a great cash game or tournament option as well. And then I'll throw out Andrelton Simmons. If he's in the top of the order, $2,300 is a nice price for him also. Outfield, Bryce Harper, I think is an awesome tournament option tonight. $5,500. Gets Masahiro Tanaka. He's got an insane numbers against right-handed pitching. He'll be very low owned because he's been good recently, but not great like he was over that course. I mean, obviously no one complaining, but at this price tag, you're going to need a home run, a couple big hits. I like him tonight as a tournament option against Tanaka with that short porch in right field. Once again, Giancarlo Stanton gets a lefty. I mean, it's going to be hard to fade him. $4,700. I'm going to be getting him as much as I can at the Rogers Center. Gotta love him. He's one of the top options. AJ Pollock, another guy, always seems to go under owned. He gets the fireballer and Carlos Frias tonight. I love him in tournaments as well. Then you're looking at some other guys here. Carlos Gonzalez at $3,800 in Coors Field. Great price tag for him. You got to like that. And he's finally starting to come on recently. I mean, double in his last game, homer in each of the 2 games before that. Way too cheap for price tag for me tonight, if you ask me. George Springer gets Carlos Rodon, a lefty. We know he mashes lefties. He's struggled at times, but I certainly think that he's in play. Matt Holliday left last night's game, a right quad strain. So obviously he's not going to be playing tonight. Since he won't be, maybe we see John Jay at $2,600. It's going to be about as cheap a piece as you can get to Coors Field tonight. So you got to love that. Ryan Rayburn near minimum at $2,300 against a lefty. Always in play there. As you're looking for other guys down at the bottom, there's not a whole lot to love. I think Rayburn's going to be my punt of choice, of course. Some other guys down here just don't have good matchups or may not be in line. If Shane Robinson's batting second, you don't mind him against Chris Young at absolute min salary. That's about the only other cheap guy that I'm looking at tonight. A couple other middling options for you here. You get Alex Gordon is $2,600 against Trevor May. Trevor May's been fine. Alex Gordon has struggled, but at that price tag, I love his upside in tournaments, $2,600. Same thing goes for Eddie Rosario. Homered last night, had double each of the 2 games before that. $2,600 tonight against Chris Young, the ultimate fly ball pitcher. I mean, biggest fly ball pitcher ever. And then Cole Calhoun, that same price, $2,600. And tonight he gets Nate Carnes. So that's going to wrap things up. Find us on Twitter at DF Cafe. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out all of our great content. Daily Fantasy Cafe